All right, God bless everybody. Today the topic is a taste of paradise. Well, we humans were and still are designed to enjoy the power and perfection that was available in paradise. Now, paradise was designed by God to be our natural habitat. Perfect health, no worries, dominion over the earth, and effortless connection with God were supposed to be our norm. Paradise is supposed to be our natural habitat. Now, God designed the original version of the true human to have complete and total dominion over the earth and over themselves. Jesus, the second Adam, the second version of this true man, the most tuned in, powerful human being who ever lived, said that we can do, you and I, we can do even greater works than he did. Now, I would say those results would be a taste of paradise. John 14:12 from the King James says, "Verily, verily, I say unto you, he that believeth on me, the works that I do shall he do also, and greater works than these shall he do, because I go unto my Father." To believe on him is not just to believe in him, but to believe like him. The words "believe on me" mean to believe all the way into him, like trying to replace your mind with his mind. How did the Christ think? Well, it's pretty well documented how he thought by the words that were spoken. Now, some of you are thinking, them are some crazy words, Mark. Well, not as crazy as you think. Paul told us that we already have the mind of Christ. He said that we can echo or repeat the mind of Christ, 1 Corinthians 2:13. Now, what does that mean? I think my mind is blowing just a little bit that we have the mind of Christ. The key to biting into this taste of paradise starts with thinking a certain way. People have tapped into that paradise occasionally, and so have you. Hear me out for a moment. A taste of paradise is sort of like that day. That one you had when everything was clicking for you. You could do no wrong. You were in the zone. Everything was working. All cylinders were firing. You were in sync with the universe, and the universe responded. People treated you great. Money just happened. You were so blessed that you almost came out of your skin. You felt closer to the Creator than you ever did before. People literally lit up when you spoke to them. Everything you did seemed effortless. Life just couldn't have been any better. That's a taste of paradise. Somehow you figured it out that day. But is it supposed to be a once in a lifetime chance, or is it a process that we could replicate? Can we do it again? Can we choose when we want it to happen? Well, I think we just need to learn to echo the mind of Christ. We've all experienced that taste of paradise. Now let's figure out how to replicate it. First, paradise defined. What is paradise? Paradise is defined in dictionaries and on the web as an Eden, a heaven on earth, a voluptuous place of happiness. Paradise is over the top delightful. Paradise is power. The Hebrews of old pictured paradise as the garden of your dreams, a forest, the Garden of Eden, the picture-perfect state that will be restored someday in the future. Much like us Christians think of paradise, sans the potential for ending up in hell if you don't follow your particular church's rules. Paradise was a perfect state of life prior to man's fall from grace. Many groups think that. If man left paradise when he fell, I wonder, how do we unfall? How do we unfall from grace? There has to be a way. The ancient Egyptians called paradise Aru, and it was an expansive reed field of ultimate hunting and fishing, where the once dead will live in joy and fulfillment after their judgment. That almost sounds like Christianity. For the Celts, it was a never-ending plain of joy called Magmel. This otherworldly place is where sickness and death do not even exist. It's a place of eternal youth, joy, happiness, and beauty. Sort of like where I am right now, looking at you beautiful women. This is a place where music, superior strength, and life, and all its pleasant pursuits come together in one single place and will last forever. Here, happiness is ever present. No one lacks food or drink, ever. It is the Irish equivalent of the Greeks' Elysium, or the Valhalla of the North. It sounds sort of like everyone has a similar version of this paradise thing. The Vedic Indians, those are the people who were before the Hindus, the ancient religion of the Aryan people, believe that one will die to be reunited with his or her now perfected body in the third heaven in order to live in a state of eternal bliss. The Zoroastrians called paradise the best experience, or the house of song. If you think about it, if you ever walk past a house and somebody's singing in the kitchen doing dishes, would that be a happy person usually? Yeah, a house of song. Simply put, almost everyone believes that the future paradise will be awesome. Most believe that paradise was once available here on earth before the world was tainted by the evil that man allowed. But I wonder, is it possible to catch a glimpse of that paradise now? And I think it is. I think we've all seen it, but we haven't figured out really how to continuously or to string a few of those together on our own. See, most self-help gurus rightfully tout that an untapped reservoir of power is available to you right now. They almost all say this. And then they add, if you'll just buy my book, audio, or coaching package. See, the Bible clearly states that we can experience a taste of this thing called paradise. Call it dominion if you want. The New Testament is the workbook that clearly shows us how. This was one of the reasons Jesus Christ came, to show us how to defeat the power of the enemy. The power of the enemy, stop thinking of it as some outside source. Why don't we take responsibility and try to fix us? You can't fix the devil. You can't fix Satan. You can't fix the world. We have enough trouble just driving our car down the interstate. Especially in the state I live in. You see, the New Testament, it shows us it's exactly how to do it. But we have so much religion mixed in with the truth that it's hard to see anymore. Now that may not make sense to you, but it will someday. The Creator designed man way back in Genesis to have dominion over the earth as long as he or she could maintain dominion over themselves. I'm going to repeat that. The Creator, way back in Genesis, He wanted us to have dominion, but it meant that we had to also maintain dominion over ourselves. This mindset is how we retaste our amazing paradise. 3 questions. These are ones I just asked myself. Is a taste of paradise still possible? 1. Number 2, what stops us from seeing paradise? 2. And number 3, can I experience paradise more often? Yes, us, yes. Those are the answers to 1, 2, and 3. A taste of paradise is available today. It is available today. I think we can experience a taste of paradise today. As Wallace Wattles stated in The Science of Getting Rich, to reconnect with the source, with the Creator, isn't just doing certain things, it's learning to do things in a certain way. It's not just doing certain things, it's doing things a certain way. Way back in 1903, old Waddles said, the man who does not desire to live more abundantly is abnormal. The man who does not desire to live more abundantly is abnormal. People accept all kinds of lack. That is not normal, folks. That's not the human design, to feel sorry for yourself, to lick your wounds, to think you're less than who you are, to think other people think less of you. It doesn't matter what other people think. I agree with old Wallace. The more that more abundant life is available right now if we do things a certain way. Jesus told us he was that way. He said, I am come that they might have life and that they might have it more abundantly. John 10:10, familiar verse. Do you see it? Do you really see that more abundant life, that super abounding life? I like that more abundant life stuff. The more abundant life is a taste of paradise. Heck, even Wallace Waddles in 1903 thought that. People before him thought that. Jesus thought that 2,000 years before old Waddles. Hebrews 6:17 says, wherein God, willing more abundantly to show unto the heirs of promise the immutability of his counsel, confirmed it by an oath. Now, in King James language, that's maybe a little hard to follow, but here God more abundantly wants us to clearly see his abundant promises. And his promise is a guarantee. And there's not many guarantees in life. In the business I'm in, financial planning, there are no guarantees. There's none. Hebrews 6:17 and 18 from the Message, this says it a little bit differently. When God wanted to guarantee his promises, he gave his word, a rock-solid gesture. God can't break his word. And because his word cannot change, the promise is likewise unchangeable. Now again, God's original view, his original desire for mankind was for us to live in paradise, to live with dominion. That's his design. God wants more than anything for us to enjoy a state of paradise. He even guarantees it. The entire Bible is set up to help us get our minds in the right headspace so we can see and be what the Creator wants us to see and be. Philippians 4:13, you know this one. I can do all things through Christ which strengtheneth me. How much is all things? We have the ability and we've been granted the permission to do some pretty amazing things. I think let's get this party started. That's the whole point of True North Ministry, is to get that party started, to live the word and to walk with power. Most Christians don't care to do that. In fact, they're afraid to do that. Most people are more afraid to shine than they are to fail. Most people are more afraid to shine than they are to fail. Taking that step out. Romans 8:37 says, nay, in all these things we are more than conquerors through him that loved us. More than conquerors could be translated super conquerors. You're a superhero in God's eyes. But are you a superhero in your own? Or are you just Mark? The guy who used to be a redhead. He's a redhead on the inside. A ginger ninja. When did we stop thinking we were always awesome? When you were a kid, you did. I've seen babies stare down presidents. They don't care. They don't have a clue who he is. They don't care who he is. The most hardened criminal, they just stare him right in the eyes. They don't care. They have no fear. They haven't been trained to yet. They have snot running down their nose and a saggy diaper. and they're going to run up to you and want to hug anyway. Whereas if you had that, you'd be looking for the next restroom because it's embarrassing. Why is it embarrassing? Somebody told you it is. When did we stop thinking we were awesome? That's the moment we began to lose our innocence. And that's the moment we began to lose that thing that we would call paradise. You know, this super conqueror, this can do, this rock solid, unchangeable guarantee is our invitation to taste paradise. So what stops us from experiencing this paradise? This was question number 2. If paradise is supposed to be our natural habitat, what happened? What happened? Why doesn't my life feel like paradise most of the time? In fact, most of the time, it feels quite the opposite. My back hurts. My brain hurts. My bank hurts. Even the world seems to be hurting and seems hell-bent on hurting each other for religious or economic reasons. It's craziness, folks. We lost it. This sense of lack is the manifestation of someone else's dream. And we bought into it. Now we got to buy out of it. I don't want to live someone else's dream anymore. I want to live my own. I want to live God's dream. My God is better than mine. Dominion, perfection, beauty, happiness, paradise. My quick answer to what keeps us out of that little piece of paradise is what I like to term the Satan effect. And what does that mean? I hear you thinking right now, what is this thing you call the Satan effect? Well, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that no matter what is happening in the world, we can still enjoy a taste of paradise. Now, you may not be able to experience it all day long every day, but my God, if you could start stringing together a few good days like that one that you had, wouldn't that be nice? It's possible, folks. Somehow you put yourself into that headspace that day. It wasn't somebody else. It wasn't that the spirits were cleared out from your bedroom or whatever kind of garbage, shoved into your head. It's possible to, as they say in New Jersey, to dip our beaks in this paradise thing. See, if Jesus said we can do the same works that he did and even greater works, then is it possible? Yeah. We too can enjoy a taste of paradise. Now the Satan effect. I'm going to further explain this. The Creator's plan for man and woman was and always will be paradise. Man started out in the Garden of Eden, which was a total and complete paradise. That sounds pretty nice. A less than paradise thought was introduced into the mind of man, which ejected him from paradise. And what injected him was just a slight shift in thinking. In simple terms, it was questioning the Creator's ability to supply her needs, and at the same time thinking one's own self was that source of supply. To be like the Creator, which resulted in a cascading fear and gross introspection. But when the devil and his mind-shrinking thoughts are eliminated after the future judgments, God's people will again live in paradise. Call it Valhalla, Aru, Megmel, Elysium, the House of Song, Eden, or Paradise. I don't care. Some of you are saying, come on, Mark, you know that Eve blew it and gave away our dominion to the adversary, and that we won't get back that dominion until the return of Jesus Christ. Well, I beg to differ. I beg to differ, folks. I don't care what you've been taught. I don't care what you think. I know that it's possible. How have we so diluted our expectation that we believe we're powerless until some future time? Christians all talk about power, 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 but if you watch them, they don't live any different than anybody else. Most of the time. Except for those few fleeting times. Sounds like part of the lie the serpent used to deceive Eve. Have things changed so much that Jesus' words are of none effect nowadays? Do they mean anything anymore? Can we still do the same works that he did and greater works? John 14:12. Are we not more than conquerors any longer? Wouldn't that take you one step closer to paradise? Jesus flat out owned dominion, as did the apostles and many others at times. If he can do it, we can do it. He turned water into wine. He raised 3 people from the dead. He cast out devils, walked on water, fed the multitudes, always had the money he needed, kept his mind sound when all hell was breaking loose, and he taught others to do the same. Oh yeah, he rose from the dead 2,000 years ago and is still alive today. And we're going to have a body fashioned like unto his glorious body. Now that's not very bad stuff to think about. Simply put, the Creator's intent for mankind was to live in a type of paradise. But man decided that he or she didn't want to put in the work to control his or her mind, and they exited paradise like it never even existed. And we've done the same thing. We just so fit into the world that we don't even think it can be great. We so fit into the world that we don't think that we can be great. We so fit into the world that we stop being great. When did we stop thinking that we're great? And when did you think you were great? Those were those great days, folks. All those self-help gurus are right. If you can change your thinking, you can change your life. It works, folks. I don't care if you're Christian or not. The Spirit of God can take you to a whole nother level, but we're not even going to scratch onto that today. You can do amazing things just as a human being human. Being the human God designed you to be, thinking like the human God designed you to think like. You see, man decided that he and she didn't want to put in the work to control the mind. Doesn't the New Testament talk about that over and over again? We'll hit some verses in a minute. A day's going to come when the evil one will be no more. And at that point, paradise will once again dominate. See, that's the common denominator between the paradises is what the Christians term Satan. Now, don't think of Satan as the devil with the red tail. Don't think of it as a bunch of spirits out there and all the evil people in the world. Why don't you just think of how it has affected you? It's still Satan. It's the effect of the devil. It's his workings. Have they entered you at all? Oh no, I'm a Christian. It could never happen to me. Look, I got a suit on. Oh, come on now. Jump off that high horse. Head toward Valhalla. At least do something. You see? But it's craziness. We've so deceived ourselves. Life between the paradises is what I call the Satan effect. We have the ability to live a life far beyond what we've been taught is possible. We too can learn to circumvent the Satan effect and enjoy a taste of paradise. Doesn't that sound nice? So, can I experience paradise more often? This was the third question. See, the key to the Satan effect being so pervasive and so effective in separating and controlling the fine people of this earth boils down to our personal manner of thinking. It always starts with thinking. Every action starts with a thought. Stop blaming the devil and the course of this world for all your problems. Sure, we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers and the darkness of this world. You see? But the key word is wrestle. Are you in the contest or are you watching? Are you a sideliner or are you in there? Are you fighting for your own life or are you just watching your life go by? Waiting for yourself to get old, gray, and eventually pass on. Some people are just sitting it out. They're just sitting it out. They think it's good enough. It was good enough for Pap. It's good enough for Mama, Papa. It's good enough for me. You see? I mean, it's the key is wrestle. You put in the necessary energy and work to control your space. You decide to win. Don't birds do that? Remember that bar-tailed godwit? It flies 40,000 miles a year to feed and to breed. What do you do to feed and breed? You see? What about it's crazy. There's a lot of birds that'll fly. There's one bird, maybe that was the bar-tailed godwit, yeah, that flies 9,000 miles nonstop, takes him 9 days, and it loses half its body weight. That's how much energy it has to put out in order to live. Twice a year it loses half its body weight. It stays up for 9 days. What are you willing to do to improve your life? Would you stay up a weekend to read one good book? Do you put affirmations around the house when you're feeling down? My dad died when he was about 46 or 47 years old. I was right there. I've told you this story before. Tried to do CPR to no avail. And I never heard my mom complain after that. Now, she loved him too, you see. She started putting up all these positive affirmations on 3x5 cards on every mirror and everywhere in the house. And she just drove herself to be positive. And then she got a job, and she got a better job and a better job, and then she ended up remarrying after a few years, and to a very decent man who stayed with her for a lot of years. You see, the cool thing is she just did it. She went to these motivational and positive thinking seminars. She did whatever she could do to keep her head together. What are you willing to do? Stop blaming the devil. Control your space. Decide to win. Put in the necessary energy. Most of our problems are self-allowed. Call it the old man if you want, like Ephesians 4:22 and Colossians 3:9 says. Our success or mediocrity boils down to our thought life. Think success all day long. Think success all day long. Love yourself all day long. Love your life all day long. Every thought, every breath. We don't have to accept every thought that enters our mind, though. Aristotle said, quote, "It is the mark of an educated mind to be able to entertain a thought without accepting it." End of quote. I'm sure he talked just like that too. And Proverbs 23:7 says, "As a man thinks in his heart, so is he." We are what we think about. As a man thinks in his heart, so is he. Who do you think you are? Well, I'm broke all the time, man. I'm having a tough time these days. That's why. Stop saying that. A man is what he thinks about all day long. Ralph Waldo Emerson. Romans 12:2. "And be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind." Don't be manipulated and molded by this world. It's funny, I have used an example recently of finishing a jog, and in my neighborhood, a piece of concrete had popped up over the last couple of years. And it was about 1,000-pound slab of concrete. And this tree had just outgrown its space. And it just pushed that thing aside like it was nothing. I couldn't pick up that slab of concrete without help. But that tree, it just slowly is outgrowing its space. And you know something? If that tree couldn't move that, you know what it would do? Grow through it. It would grow through it. I'm telling you, be like that tree. Be the tree. You see, be the tree. If something's in your way, you just keep growing. You see, and pretty soon you're going to pop it out of your way. And if not, I've seen a tree grow right through a chain link fence. It just grew right through it and absorbed it. I saw a picture of a tree that absorbed a bicycle. Somebody set a bicycle in the nook and it just swallowed it up. It'll grow. I mean, it's such a great example. You see, grow through your problems. Move your problems. Just keep growing. Every day be a little better than you were yesterday. Outgrow your day every day, and you're going to be better. You're going to taste bits and pieces of paradise. Napoleon Hill quoted, "Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, the mind can achieve." How many millions of people have become successful from Napoleon Hill's works? Millions of people. Some of the greatest successes today warrant it back to Napoleon Hill's stuff, and he just quoted principles from the Bible. So did Wallace Wattles way back in 1903. 1 Peter 1:13 says, "Wherefore gird up the loins of your mind." Modern translation, grow a set. Grow a set. So, stop acting like a wussy and start living your life. What life do you want? Well, the one you think about is the one that you want. Is it poor? Is it you have to work 14,000 jobs a day in order to make your need met? Well, maybe some people do. And some of the most successful people on earth have multiple streams of income. Nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying that if you have time for not living, then maybe we need to change. Here's another quote by a very, very wise sage. Once you replace negative thoughts with positive ones, you'll start having positive results. Willie Nelson. He's a success. He's failed all the way to the bottom, lost everything, and worked his way back up. You know, Colossians 3:2 says, "Set your affection on things above, not on things on the earth." Think higher thoughts than your thoughts. If you keep thinking your same old thoughts, what's going to happen to your life? It's going to stay the same. It has to. You have to elevate your thinking somehow. Isn't that what all these self-help gurus say? Yeah. Quote, here's another one. "Don't bury your thoughts. Put your vision to reality. Wake up and live." Bob Marley. That guy changed a generation. Changed a generation. Don't bury your thoughts. Put your vision to reality. Wake up and live. Colossians 3:16, "Let the word of Christ dwell in you richly." Remember we talked about the mind of Christ? Just something to throw out there. When I say the word mind, I don't mean the word brain. There's a big difference. There's a difference between the mind and the brain. The brain may house the mind, or is it the mind that houses the brain? I don't know. But if all of us have a brain and all of us have a body, why don't we all think alike? It's because we all have a different mind. We set our minds differently. And so we learn to control the mind. You can control the brain with drugs. You can control the brain with surgery. You can control the brain with trauma, you see. But to control the mind, that's the secret to paradise. Norman Vincent Peale remarked, "Change your thoughts and you change your world." Change your thoughts and you change your world. Philippians 2:5 says, "Let this mind be in you, which was also in Christ Jesus." Let this mind. It doesn't mean brain. Mind is what people think. It's their attitude. It's their emotions. It's the essence of who they are. It's your soul. Let his mind be in you. How do you learn his mind? Scripture, right? You could try it, trial and error, but it's a lot faster if you just read the Bible. You know, if you realize how powerful your thoughts are, you would never again think a negative thought. That's Mildred Lizette Norman, commonly called the Peace Pilgrim. You see, focused thoughts combined with deliberate action are unstoppable. Focused thoughts combined with deliberate action are unstoppable. Thoughts alone don't cut it. You got to act. Those are the two, that's the key right there, those two things. You could add a lot of stuff in there, write your goals down, make a vision board, put up affirmations all over your house, you know, talk to yourself in the mirror, you know, I mean, whatever, jump up and down, beat your chest, you know, whatever it takes, you see, but it's really thoughts and action. Thoughts and action. That's what gets that train moving. Thoughts and action, thoughts, action, thoughts, action. Pretty soon you got momentum. The way we access paradise today is to control our thinking and take appropriate action. Call it the renewed mind. No one's going to renew it for you. How many times does God have to say it, in how many ways? That we have to put better thoughts into our heads if we want to do better things. That was Romans 12:2. Or putting on the new man. People say, well, putting on the new man is getting born again. No, it's not. You're not doing that every day. You put on that new man. You put on those new thoughts every day. Now, the new man may be that Christ in you. But putting on the new man is putting on the mind of what? Christ. The way to begin your individual journey to taste your paradise is to control every thought. That's all. That's all. It's only going to be the hardest thing you've ever done. If it was easy, then anybody could do it. Controlling your mind is literally the hardest thing to do on earth. To focus. Just when you sit down and you're alone and you're not looking at your iPhone, checking your Facebook and checking your text, and when you're just alone, where does your mind go? A lot of the Asians call that the monkey brain. It's just jumping all over. Boing, 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 boing. It's just all over the place. But if you can learn to control that mind and to stay it on something, focus on what you want. I need to make this amount of money by this time. I need to find a good friend to do this with. I'm going to go to, you fill in the blank, Italy. I'm going to go to Ireland. I'm going to go to Valhalla. You get it, you see. And so, that's all it takes. Does our image of ourselves match up with the image that the Creator set for us? If it doesn't, then we are hurting ourselves. We're wasting that day. If you've wasted your whole life up to this point, which you haven't, but if you have, then start today. Change those thinkings. Control what you think. Every thought, lead every thought captive to the obedience of Christ. You control every thought. You ever had to round up chickens before? I worked on a farm one time. We had 300 chickens. And every 10 weeks or 12 weeks, we had to catch 300 chickens. And sometimes I had to do it by myself. And at first it's easy because they all bunch up into they huddle in a corner, and you're grabbing their legs and you're stuffing them into these wooden cages. But when you get to the last 3, they're quicker than we are typically. So you have to learn how to outsmart them. But you lead captive every thought. Some of them they're fast. Some of them are slippery. They're elusive. Some of them can fly. But you keep grabbing those things and keep stuffing them into the cage of your mind. You control you. Because if you're not, somebody else is, I guarantee. Somebody else is, and they want to control you. You think the TV and the media and all the news doesn't control you? Think the way you were raised doesn't control you? If you were born and then adopted out and you were raised, let's say in Japan. I've never heard of that, them adopting an American kid, but let's just say they did, okay? And you were raised totally in a Japanese family. Would you think the same way that you do now? Absolutely not. You'd be a totally different person. It's all thinking, folks. Now, some of that genetic DNA makes you who you are. People might say, you act just like your dad, or your mom, or you know what I'm saying? People talk that, and there's some truth to that. But a lot of our thoughts, a lot of the ways we act are because we learned something from our parents, who learned something from their parents, who learned something from their parents, who learned it from their parents, on back down to when we were running barefoot with sharp sticks. I mean, think about it. I mean, we are a figment of other people's imagination in so many ways, and it's spooky. Jesus Christ didn't allow it. Even when his mother and brothers tried to corral him and get him to go the way of the brilliant minds of Israel, he decided, I'm going to do what God wants me to do. And that's all I'm asking you to do. Why don't you just do what God wants you to do? And basically the hell with everybody else. Because God's never going to steer you wrong. I guarantee if each one of us did everything God wanted us to do, we would change the world, baby. At least a piece of it. Is it the Creator's vision or is it not? Or is the vision that we have a lesser image conjured up by some religious idiot? So many Christians, my God, they live powerless because it's just muddied. It's just muddied. You know, the truth just has mud caked all over it. It's really hard to see. If you can control enough thoughts, you can control your mind. As you control your mind, you control not just your actions, but you set into motion towards you everything the Creator has set aside for you. I'm going to say it again. As you control your mind, you control not just your actions, but you set into motion toward you everything the Creator has set aside for you. Or you could say it, as you grow towards your goal will grow toward you. The key to the Satan effect being so pervasive and so effective in separating and controlling the fine people of this earth boils down to our personal manner of thinking. He has no control over you unless you let it. But remember that satanic influence, it's so deeply embedded in people's behavior because it's just been handed down from generation to generation. Heck, the devil doesn't have to do much of anything. If you think about it, it's set in motion. He does not have to do much of anything. In fact, according to the Bible, he only directly ever confronted two people, Eve and Jesus. The rest of it he leaves up to his minions. They're just to dummies like us to pass along stupidity. See, most of our problems are self-allowed. Our success or our mediocrity boils down to our thought life. Think success and gain dominion. Think success and gain paradise. It's there, folks. Just like that one day, that perfect day that you had that time. You can have it again and again and again. So you can experience a portion of paradise more often. There's certain things we have to do. I think we can. I absolutely think we can. But we have to think big. We humans were and still are designed to enjoy the power and perfection that was available in paradise. Paradise was designed by God to be our natural habitat. Perfect health, no worries, dominion over the earth, and effortless connection with God were to be our norm. 1. Is a taste of paradise still possible? Yes. 2. What stops us from seeing paradise? Us. 3. What can I experience, or can I experience paradise more often? Yes. A taste of paradise is sort of like that day you had when everything was clicking for you. You could do no wrong. You're in the zone. Everything was working. All cylinders were firing. You were in sync with the universe and it responded. People treated you great. Money just happened. You were so blessed you almost came out of your skin. People shined when you walked by and talked to them. You felt closer to the Creator than ever before. Everything you did seemed effortless. Life couldn't have been better. As we echo the mind of Christ, we will see that a taste of paradise is still our natural habitat. God bless.